Recently at the 48th UNESCO World Heritage Committee, the designation for the Korean tidal flats was officially expanded as a World Heritage Site. And on the surface, right, this looks like your standard noble conservation effort. We're protecting nature for future generations. But the source material we're unpacking in today's explainer uses events exactly like this to spark a radically different philosophical question about what humanity actually chooses to preserve. It really asks us, are we truly leaving behind a lasting cultural legacy, or are we just obsessively hoarding the remnants of how we used to live?
It forces us to pause and rethink our default assumptions. What makes cultural heritage truly valuable? We usually just assume that fencing off undisturbed nature or protecting ancient texts is the ultimate goal of humanity's legacy. But the philosophy we're exploring today challenges that head-on. It asks us to seriously consider, is preserving a 2,000-year-old rock wall really the absolute pinnacle of our cultural achievement as a species? Or is there a much, much higher standard of living and creating that we haven't even reached yet?
So here is our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover 1. Beyond physical cultural heritage. 2. Defining true cultural heritage. 3. Rethinking arts and awards. 4. The Hanek-Ingen philosophy. And finally, 5. A joyful future era.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Beyond Physical Cultural Heritage. Physical is not enough.
So the crucial point here is how the source categorizes the things we currently revere all around the world. We have protected tidal flats, the Tripitaka Koreana, which, if you don't know, are ancient scriptures carved into wood, historical stones, old agricultural fields, and sites of immense past struggle like the Wailing Wall. From the perspective of our source text, none of these are true cultural heritages. They are merely the shell. They just represent the physical artifacts of how people used to live, work, or struggle for centuries. It's literally like fiercely protecting the wrapping paper and completely throwing away the actual gift inside. Preserving the physical item without extracting its deeper wisdom is, according to this view, missing the point entirely.
And this brilliantly illustrates that core paradigm shift. On one side, we have first and second dimensional heritage. This is basically what we currently do globally, right? We protect nature from being damaged, and we preserve ancient texts. And it's not a bad thing. International cooperation to protect nature is obviously a good step, but it is strictly first and second dimensional. On the other side, we have third-dimensional heritage. Now, I know that might sound a bit sci-fi at first, but it simply means moving from passive preservation to active creation. According to the source, this highest level of heritage doesn't actually exist in the world yet. It is a yet-to-be-created, profound, invisible culture that is actively produced to benefit future generations rather than just, keeping an old object intact.
Which brings us right into Section 2, Defining True Cultural Heritage. Creating for the future.
So you might be wondering, if wrapping up ancient scriptures and putting them behind thick museum glass isn't true heritage, what on earth is? If protecting old rocks isn't enough, what should we actually be doing? Well, the source argues that to find real value, we have to look past the physical medium entirely. We have to focus on producing completely new, actionable culture. It's a massive order, for sure, but how exactly do we get there?
The source actually outlines 3 exact steps for creating this genuine legacy. Step 1 is extracting the true essence from all our past religious and historical knowledge. This essence is referred to as jang. Think of it like taking the moral of a story and applying it directly to your life, rather than just worshiping the paper the story is printed on. Step 2 is taking that essence and creating accurate, actionable manuals for how people should live today in the modern world. And step 3 is the ultimate test. Does this new culture directly help future generations live well? If a piece of culture acts as a guiding light that helps humanity navigate life better in the future, only then does it become a true third-dimensional cultural heritage. Moving on to Section 3, Rethinking Arts and Awards, a new global standard. To really emphasize this massive shift, the source takes a bold swing at a globally beloved classic, Romeo and Juliet. It argues that dying out of love is actually a complete contradiction. From this philosophical viewpoint, true love should make you incredibly happy, it should make you full of life. Teenage angst leading to double homicide just because things didn't go your way? That's characterized here as madness, not romance. Therefore, holding up a story of tragic, unnecessary death as a priceless cultural heritage is really just a symptom of a completely outdated paradigm. Basically, we need better stories.
And this massive critique extends right to the very top of our global institutions. The source takes a really fascinating, highly critical stance on the Nobel Prize itself.
It argues that currently there's actually a lack of truly worthy recipients because the old paradigm just rewards people for struggling for a long time or writing books based on old logic. The text suggests that giving prestigious global awards for mere first or second dimensional achievements often breeds arrogance, leading recipients to become overly confident and downright disrespectful to societal leaders. So the ultimate rather audacious proposal here is a total reset. We literally need to abandon these outdated structures and create a completely new global award, one distributed by a new global foundation that strictly rewards those who produce a new paradigm of culture that genuinely benefits all of humanity.
And that brings us to Section 4, the Hongik Ingen philosophy, defining Igongin. Central to this entire philosophy is a concept called Igongongik. This is the exact criteria the source believes should earn that monumental new global award we were just talking about. Igongongik translates to creating works or performing actions that eternally benefit the broader public and future generations. It is absolutely not about short-term fixes or charity or temporary solutions. It is about leaving a lasting, positive structural impact on how humans actually live their lives. It is the ultimate contribution. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to contrast it. On one side, we have itahang. This is simple, immediate altruism, like paying for a cup of coffee for the person behind you in line or helping out a neighbor. It's undeniably good, right? But it's small scale. On the other side, Igongongik is massive. It's not just about buying a coffee. It's about creating an entirely new cultural paradigm that ensures nobody ever goes thirsty again. It requires profound actions that leave a permanent, positive impact on the world. The source argues that shifting from that immediate altruism to the structural, eternal benefit is the true goal of human cultural production.
But who is actually supposed to lead this monumental structural shift? According to the text, it falls squarely upon South Korea's Hongik Ingan leaders. These leaders are referred to as Chunsan, meaning descendants of heaven. The philosophy states that these individuals have spent the past eras being suppressed, experiencing deep historical struggles. But here's the catch: that exact history of struggle is what uniquely qualifies them for this moment. They are now tasked with emerging onto the global stage to initiate this exact work, extracting the essence of the past to produce the profound third-dimensional culture the world so desperately needs.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, a joyful future era, the ultimate endgame.
The source lays out a very clear and honestly a very urgent timeline for humanity's spiritual evolution. The past is defined as the era of begging and praying, spending thousands of years pleading with deities in front of stone walls for some kind of salvation. But that era, it's over. The text sets a strict, fast-approaching deadline to finish preparing this new cultural foundation, and that year is 2030. Yes, 2030. That is literally just around the corner. Once this preparation is complete by 2030, humanity enters what is called the post-heaven era, an era defined not by struggle or hardship, but by total joy and liberation.
Let's break down exactly what this post-heaven era looks like, because it is a truly uplifting vision. The most striking point here is that the era of blindly relying on or praying to deities is officially done. We don't have to beg anymore. Instead, the text proposes this incredibly beautiful idea. We actually please God, the heavens, and our ancestors simply by living our own lives joyfully. You don't need to suffer or be miserable to be spiritual. In fact, it's the exact opposite. When humanity lives a genuinely joyful life, nature responds by freely providing all of its power to us. The ultimate goal of all this cultural production, all this deep philosophical shifting, is the complete liberation and happiness of humanity.
And this brilliantly brings everything full circle. True success and cultural heritage come from living a joyful life. It's not about dying tragically like Romeo and Juliet. It's not about weeping at a stone wall, and it's certainly not about just saving the physical empty shells of the past. True cultural heritage is the active creation of a society where people actually know how to live happily, and through that everyday joy, they naturally fulfill their absolute highest spiritual purpose.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Look closely at what we value today as a global society. Are we merely preserving the shells of the past? You know, the ancient stones, the old fields, the dusty books? Or are we stepping up to our true responsibility, doing the deep, profound work required to actively create the joy of the future? It's a powerful paradigm shift, and one that challenges literally every assumption we have about what it really means to leave a legacy. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive, and keep questioning what true heritage really means to you.